everybody. I'm here today to offer another channel for you. We are talking today about hybrid children, but it's really about the evolution of humankind. And what we're getting is information on how that process actually works. We're going to cover a lot of ground. I'm going to talk about that now through a list I have. Okay, so primarily what we're doing is talking about the evolution of humankind, the galactic evolution, and how our evolution also has impact elsewhere outside of Earth. That's we're all connected. So we're going to talk about the hybrid human, what you may have heard as hybrid children. We're going to talk about the understanding of this and that process used to continue to see us grow and evolve as a species. We already mentioned galactic involvement. Well, actually, we're going to talk about galactic involvement and the galactic history as well that leads up to this. We also touch on the Orion Wars a bit. And we also discuss regime change, which we'll explain in the video. We also start out, I believe, by introducing this subject in one way, talking about what some might be aware of as abductions, okay? Regardless of why they're actually happening, we have that discussion and bring through some information. So again, as I always say, I hope you take a few things away for the puzzle of your own life journey, because what we do is we pick things up from various sources as we go through this awakening and ascension journey, and it helps us understand the story of our own journey. So take what resonates and toss the rest aside. That's what I always say. So hopefully today you'll pick up some more pieces for the story of your own journey. Anyway, thank you so much for being here today. I'm Carolyn. I'm a channel. I'm a distance energy healer, and I'm a spiritual awakening mentor. And I offer channels from the Light Keepers, who are a group of angelic beings who I channel for your ascension and awakening journey, and then our channeled conversations with Jennifer and myself, and my energy updates that I do regularly each month for your ascension and awakening journey and your growth. So thank you so much for joining me here today. So if you're new to my channel, thank you so much. I appreciate it, and I appreciate all of you who are always here every day and all your cool comments, because like I've said before, I really learn a lot from you as well and enjoy reading your information and the knowings that you have as well. So below in the description box, you're going to see a link that will take you to a video on flow and how to create that in your body for health and wellness during this ascension journey, which is super important. Needless to say, it then takes you to an email list that I have where I offer you a channeled message from the Light Keepers each week on a Friday before the week coming up. And it helps assist you on your journey forward. In fact, the energy is embedded in the words that are offered to me through the channel that they give me for you. So hopefully you'll join me there too. And again, it's more free content for your journey. So before we get into the video with Jennifer and myself today on those topics, I just want to kind of give a quick update on where we're at in April and kind of my sense of things. I think particularly this week is an ultra sensitive week. Oh, wow, that was a lot of energy. Feeling a little bit on edge this week, feeling I've been a lot of tired people in the last week or so, a lot of new shifting and changing energy. We're coming into the full moon here shortly. This should actually be out before the full moon. Yeah, okay, they're talking about the launching forward. See, this is another acceleration. It's all kind of acceleration. It's never going to be, deceleration, but it feels like that sometimes in how we just adjust to it in our bodies. But right now what we're doing, as I had mentioned for April, is starting into more of the, they just said global community. Yep. More of how we actually have been working so much on our inner self to create and really reclaim who we've always been, and then to create out of that. And now it's almost like we've come out of that. We always will still be doing work, right? We'll still be feeling the energies, but we're coming out of a lot of this very difficult inner work. And again, we go in phases as light workers, right? So I'm talking about kind of that first big wave. And a lot of us are in that. And if you say, well, I don't know if I'm in the first wave or not, you'll understand as you listen to some of my other videos, but also you'll be coming along in these stages. But the energies right now are ripe for us to be taking what we have created or reclaimed on the inside of us, who we know who we are, and now that power and strength, we're actually manifesting that out into the world in kind of baby steps, starting to see that happen, a shift and change of our focus, sometimes less on us. Well, let me back up. We will always need to have and want to have the focus on our journey, our self-awareness, our self-care. But now that cocooning time, now many of us are starting to shift. Okay, they're showing this, shift our focus. They're showing us turning this way into the outer world, and how we will either be making an impact in the outer world, how we may be, and that may be something as simple as how you're working, I don't know, with your neighborhood, with your community, in your job, or it may be something much more global, but being much more aware of what's being manifest out there and how we are now. God, okay, wow, they're just showing, it's like, oh, they just said it's like we've been in boot camp. Huh, okay. And now, okay, so like a real kind of, okay, they're talking like mentoring program, like a kickstart program, like we've been behind the scenes doing the work. Oh, they just said, and now the Force is ready. Now they're giving a Star Wars theme. I don't know my Star Wars. I only know the first Star Wars. But needless to say, they're giving a Star Wars theme of, I don't know, was there a Galactic Force? For those of you who have seen the other Star Wars, like, and getting this, whoa, this Galactic Force, in this case of light workers, coming out now, like stepping out. Oh, I have so many chills. Stepping out now into the greater community is what I'm getting, the worldwide community. And it's a trickle effect. But we're manifesting out, not only in our own journey from the work that we've been doing, we will continue to do, but the vast majority of it that we've been doing, into a manifestation and into the collective. And this is how we shift and change our world. All right. This is a natural process that is happening. Okay. They just brought back to me, you might remember if you listen to my videos, do you remember when I said like the cicadas coming out of the ground after 7 years? It's the same thing, same idea, but it's a metaphor, obviously. But we're coming out now. We're going to start making that. Okay. They just said ripple effect. Ripple effect, wave. And remember, we're magnetic, wave upon wave. As we move into this, others are coming. Others are coming. And many of you know who have just started your awakening journey, you're coming along too. Many of you are coming along very, very quickly. So know that this month is super touchy, super energetic in the sense of, okay, they just said prickly. We have to be aware of how we respond. We have to be aware of how we may be sensitive. We have to, because, well, there's a lot of reasons for that, but we are continuing to move. As Jennifer and I talked about in the last video, we're learning how to move multidimensionally all day long, right? And as we do that, we're taking on different energies. So we've moved off from March into this new time of creation, and they're very much showing this with spring. And so we are ramping this up is what I want to tell you. But remember, keep in mind, keep yourself in check, okay? Because you're going to get zinged by the energies and the collective experience, because a lot is showing up now. A lot's coming to the surface. A lot is being felt very emotionally in us with what we see out in the collective. So just keep that in mind, okay? And I'm going to send you on over to the video with Jennifer and myself, and then I'm going to wrap up with you at the end. So enjoy the video. You know, it's real interesting. The last 2 days, like, and I'm never like this. I have been so, like, it feels like a brick hit me, and I'm so tired. Like, I'm so tired right now. Like, I woke up this morning and I laid back down in bed. That's so not me. And I was like, oh, I just want to go back to bed. And I'm feeling that way right now. And I felt that way yesterday. It's real weird.
Let me tell you, I've felt so tired that I felt like I've asked my team, are you guys sedating me? I've actually felt like I'm going to sleep, like I'm being sedated almost. And I'm like, am I being sedated somewhere? What's going on? Right. And they're like, search around. Oh, yeah, crap. Sorry. Yeah, we've got something here, you know? So, yes.
I'm not my buzzy little energetic self. And
you want to try a little something? This is what I do. I don't know if it'll work for you, but hell of it. So when I've like run into things that are like really whatever, anything lately, I've just sat still and I've said, okay, everything in my body, all my energy centers, everything are positively polarized.
Mhm.
Oop, and I feel them switch. Woo! Some of them that got flipped for whatever reason, because we're running through massive distortion right
Whoa.
now. That
I
happened.
just got chills and I got a running of energy up through my inner self, my
We go. Positively polarized.
positively.
All of my chakra centers are in the uninverted state.
All my chakra centers are in the uninverted state.
And I'm aligning my energy body and my blueprint body.
And I'm aligning my energy body and my blueprint body.
You kind of feel them all kind of come back in like this.
Yeah.
Yep. All right.
Ooh, I just got centered in the solar plexus. Whoa.
Yeah. And this, I don't even have to say anything further. Whatever weird thing I was feeling is gone. I don't even have to say now to clear this. It's done. It's done right now.
Okay, we're gonna see how I feel. That's real interesting because I can tell something came. It was like it felt like things became more aligned. That's the word. Whoa, I have chills.
Yes, align. I used to use that as one of my things. I'd say, line me up. And I'd gone through this big process of, everything has to be this and this, all the stuff. I told you about this before. Like I had this whole build I put together, how I want everything to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And then I used to just say, line me up.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
All that crap, right? All that crap. And I said, line me up, and I'd feel everything whoosh, come right back in just like that, right?
See, that's what I need to take more advantage of is actually just because I'm in my head so much, and oh God, that is my big challenge. I'm in my head so much that it doesn't get articulated. I get spinning with myself. I have conversations with myself, but it's with my human self. I need to engage my crew more and my higher, well, you can argue.
Yeah, well, we talk about safe words. This is like what I'm talking about right now. Like you get kind of spinny or tired or weird, and your mind is not on point, right?
No, I'm super tired.
It's difficult. They say, be careful with, be mindful of your words, what you're saying. When you're in this state, it's not easy to be mindful with your words because you're like, you can't really even think of because
or your thoughts, like your thoughts,
or we're polar. How much you felt that your polarization just changed, right? So that can affect that too. Mm-hmm. So I think that's what I catch myself too, because I don't do this. I need to do more of what I say, but this is what it is. I have these words that bring in exactly what I want without me trying to articulate or think of it or come up with it in the moment where I don't feel good.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know if you felt that. I certainly did.
Yeah.
Realign. Let's just see if your energy starts to change, because if some are the wrong way or something polarized, or maybe something through we're flying through all this stuff and something gets negatively attached to something that's lower rather than all my attachments are only to light or to higher at this time. Some of them get flipped. Your energy flow, my apple just came back on. Your energy flow that's supposed to be giving you energy and lifting you, they're in conflict with each other. So you don't feel your life force just flowing perfectly, right?
Yeah.
So you just rearrange those things, and they do not be inverted, be positively polarized, and get my thing flowing again.
Yeah, I need to remember to engage more. I mean, it's I definitely need to do that.
Feels better.
So a conversation, if we want to do a video.
I don't know how you want to go into this, but I am personally experiencing things and wanting to know more about some of the stuff that's going on with hybrid children.
Well, let's talk about it, because I think that's actually let's do it. Let's see what happens. You never know.
Because I think there are, there's different levels of this. I think there are here embodied, coming in the traditional way. But I also think there's genetic stuff going on. I think there's stuff happening on other planes.
I just heard the word modification.
It's an interesting thing in a lot of ways, because I think that for us on this plane, the idea of that happening on another plane is horrifying when we first hear about it.
Right.
Well, primarily because we don't understand it, and we think that it's being done against our will, and then we feel like we're in separation from some potential child. There's all kinds of emotions that would flow through us finding out that might be possible because of the separation that we're in.
Yes.
But I do know that there are several of these programs that we ourselves are heading for ourselves.
Totally.
And we are taking very good care of ourselves in those. There are some that aren't true, but I want to get a better feel.
Okay.
So
can I
when
give you
people
some
start
info? Yep.
Yes.
Let me give it. I'm just going to talk. Okay. And I'm going to see what happens because I'm
Please.
getting the words. Now you can argue maybe there's a non-benevolent side there, but I'm getting the benevolent part. Okay. So, and we could go into that. So they just said it's benevolent. Okay. They just said very much involved. Oh, they just said, okay. So they're talking about, all right. They're talking about, okay. They're talking about many light workers. Okay. You know how we have jobs outside this human body and at night and the whole astral thing and our higher selves are already doing other work, right?
Yes.
What I'm very much getting is there are many of us involved in this. They call it a program. Okay. But they're talking about it being a program of evolution of humankind is what they're talking about. Oh, they said evolving into, okay, it's one thing they're talking about for those, and I think we talked about this once in the past, but they're bringing through, it's one thing for us as like you and me right now, doing the ascending in the version of the human body that we have. It's a whole, oh, chills. It's a whole other thing for the new children coming in because the hybrid part, they're talking about, okay, so, and again, we can talk through this. They're talking about how, they made some reference to making Ascension simpler, okay, or they'll be closer to the, okay, they're talking about the divine. So like there's a more galactic portion of the hybrid children, yet they're still human, and yet this has something to do with, okay, they just talked about the light that they carry as well as the ability to accelerate the collective ascension process.
Yes.
Okay, so maybe we can unpack that. And so they are very much alluding to, well, okay, this is a message for the collective that they're giving me is understand that this benevolent piece, this is real and true. Actually, it's very much how we have been shifted and changed over the course of time as well. And we have evolved. But there's very much they keep calling it a program and they're spelling it. This is so interesting because I'm seeing the word, they're spelling it like it's, you know how they spell it in the UK program? It's like, they're showing it that, I don't know why, that's so interesting. But it's a program, it's a process that many of us are actually involved in.
There's a Nordic connection, I think, to the Nordics that we call the Nordics. I think that's why they're spelling it like.
They're spelling it P-R-O-G-R-A-M-M-E. Is that how you spell that?
Program. Yeah, that's like French or.
Isn't that funny? I have chills. What else do we want to know about that? Because we can keep going. Okay. Okay, they're talking about evolving through the course of time. They're showing what they look like too. Oh, they said you're going to know them by the gaze in their eyes. Boy, they keep saying the gaze in their eyes. And their level of advancement. In other words, it's almost like you're talking to you're talking to a wise soul in a young body, but okay, so here's the thing. Are they necessarily old souls? Not that that matters, but it feels to me like there's something new about, it doesn't feel, okay, I'm just going to go with this. Maybe we can unpack this. Like what, the wise old souls that have been around forever and keep coming back in, right? The wise old souls. There's something different about the hybrid children though. And I kind of feel like they're they just said like a newer soul in an how do I want to explain this, in what feels like but this is why they did the hybrid part, is a newer soul. They're showing like a more okay, souls are souls, but there's something about the newer souls now coming in with a more crystalline body already intact. And whoa, I just took a huge deep breath. But at the same time, they're showing two pathways, like there's a different wisdom they're bringing in. They're not like the old, wise, ancient souls. It's different. This is all new to me. Are you getting any of that? Does that make any sense?
I'm trying to figure it out because I feel like I can feel both of those energies big time in
Me
my
too.
field. I've got some ancient stuff, and I've also got galactic or hybrid feeling too. And they have very different feelings in them. I think maybe with the more hybrid, they feel lighter in the sense that they maybe are more adaptable to something new, where the old soul has all the wisdom and all the, they're big, right? Huge.
Right.
With the newer ones are a little bit more lightweight, if you want to call it that.
Yes, and that's how they're showing that with the more crystalline, lightweight, kind of floaty. Exactly, but and they're both valid and important.
Totally. Yeah, you couldn't have one without the other, actually.
So, you know what it is? It's the human evolution part of this is what they're showing me. So it's the bodily human evolution part that's shifting and changing with the hybrid children as they come in. That's why they're showing the crystalline part, whereas the wise old souls, the ancient ones, it's like they brought all that into their, it has to do with the body. It very much has to do with the body. It's more like the hybrid children come in with a different body, like an upgraded body, more the crystalline body, where the wise old souls, and I'm just using that terminology because that's what they're giving me, that have been around for some time, they're kind of coming in the same, they just said the same container, and they're ascending, and they're ascending within that same container, within that same kind of body, they just said the 2.0 version, right? And now it's probably more than that, but they're trying to give that idea of the hybrid children 2.0, and they keep showing crystalline. So they're coming in with a different body.
Okay.
And they just said in mindset too, they've advanced beyond their years is what I'm getting.
Well, yeah, I think that I definitely have picked up on that, like they're adults in a little kid's body, right? They don't necessarily have that same developmental innate kind of stuff that has been developed over eons. I think they kind of something different, but they have it's almost like they just don't have a lot of the veiling too, so they just come in like themselves, right?
And what I'm getting to is they just said less, this isn't even a word, less influenceable, less able to be influenced is what they're saying. Yeah. By the energies, by the old antiquated energies. And here's the thing, they're coming in with the Aquarian age kind of energies, right? More compatible is what I'm getting, because they're showing Pisces and Aquarian. They don't fit with the Pisces, so they fit with the Aquarian age vibe. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, yes, and I think that if I remember correctly, I remember hearing this, some of the modifications or whatever that had been made over time were to subjugate, basically. So, there was genetic modification to make a race more compliant, right? It's like a genetic thing, right? So I think that what you said, they don't have those tweaks to the genetics that are, some genetics are actually programmed to make you more compliant or make you more tolerant of things or make you, know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I just got something on that, which is going to take us in a different direction as per what you just said. And they said, based on what you just said, they said, it depends on who is in charge. Okay. So hold on. Of the program, and they keep showing it that way. What they're showing me, oh gosh, I have chills. I haven't said this yet. They're showing me they just said regime change. There was oh God. Oh my gosh. I feel like my skin is like, I'm just icebergs, like my hands and my feet and just all these pricklies. They're saying there was a regime change. Okay. So remember this, we're not conscious of this in human form, and they're talking galactic regime change, and they're showing a switching out. They just said of the old guard. And remember, we're involved some of us are involved in doing this. We don't even know it, right? We're involved in the work being done. So the regime change, what I'm getting is, I heard to the light ways, which the regime change actually, they just said they got booted out. Okay, so remember how they say as above, so below. So there's this galactic war or battle going on for the power, we'll just call it that.
Yeah,
I'm getting that they've been booted out. Does
Okay,
that make
so
any sense
yes,
to you?
it makes so much sense to me on many levels, even on a personal level. It's kind of one of the reasons why I brought up this hybridization, because of something that I heard that was happening. I was shown some visuals. I was told how my being is involved on different levels, and so there was a I'm just going to say it was on Nibiru. All right.
Yeah.
There was a switch out of some of the things that were going on there, and who was being utilized for that, how they were being utilized, and how it was being done. And there was a takeover, because it was not basically the person or the being who provided all the genetics for all of what they had been doing decided that they didn't like the way that it had been collected, and the way that it was being done. And as it is their genetics, basically they took Nibiru from the other. So now that Nibiru is under control of a different being.
How does that connect to the hybrid children then?
Because what was happening on Nibiru was a hybridization of the human. It was a genetic hybridization of the two species, basically, with a, you can say maybe was or wasn't, but in a roundabout way, if at the end of the day, it really actually was not with the consent of the human. So the origin of that being decided that the planet was not populated with their genetics, and therefore they were taking the planet. And so the planet has been taken over by a different energy now. So
meaning a different energy that is aligned with what we just talked about.
A lot high, yes, that is more concerned with the proper care.
Yes.
And
That's what I'm getting.
Genetics of their being. Yes.
That's what I'm getting, very much so. They're continuing to show me, they keep bringing me back to that dream that I had, which was very real, yes, where I showed up and it's all this medical place. And I was actually part of that medical
yes,
like ship that all these different, they were doing transplants, head transplants at the time.
Yes. More galactic.
Very galactic, yeah, because
yeah,
the heads were super huge. And so from the neck on up. But point is they keep bringing me back to that. Okay, they just said the word specialization. Okay, I'm just going to see what they bring through. Okay, they're giving me some indication that there are specializations. Okay, they just showed the head transplant of the more giant type individuals. They look like humans, but they're not. They're more giant. They said that's a specialization. So is the hybrid children. It's on the hybrid children, like, for example, would not, and I don't know where we're going on this, but I'm just going to keep going. That would not be done with in the same space. Basically, they said it's another specialty. Okay. Okay. It's a specialty of those who are advancing. Oh, they called us the earthen types. They said it's a specialty of advancing the earthen type. So okay. So in my case, my dream, I wasn't working on human form. Okay.
No.
That wasn't me. I was doing something galactic. What they're talking about here is this is a very specialized, because here's the thing, we're continually working, and I'm talking Galactic Collective, on creating more life on other planets, galaxies, universes. One part of this is the hybrid children coming in, but I'm getting a lot of specialties out there of now we're talking really galactic, of populating other parts of our multiverse.
Yes. Now, though, let's remember how, at the end of the day, I always use this term, but at the end of the day, when we start to really group our energy, and we realize in a unified state or in a quantum field or 0 point, we start to realize how everything that exists is really one energy, right?
Yes.
And we start to realize there's a plan with that energy. So many of these experimentations, although they are part of, exploring and, whatever we're learning, there is also a more ideal or a highest potential form
Yes.
for all beings, not just, so in some of these particular levels of research or genetics here in other planes, in other dimensions, other time periods, there you're going to have that fluctuation of what you might feel personally is in integrity or out of integrity, right? So
I just heard something. I just heard something. They said there's a constant conversation about that.
Okay.
Yep.
So I've had a couple of glimpses into some understandings that have come in about how much, where I am participating and how I've been in particular ones. And there are both where there's some that I find that are completely, they've got the right mindset, and then there's some that are absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something I've been exploring, and it's been interesting. I kind of came across this in a very roundabout way, but when we really start to look at or understand or feel, you can get specifics about it if you want to, details, but literally we are all relatives. We are all connected to each other. Totally. And it's not even like, what do they say, 6 degrees of separation is everybody? It's not even 6 degrees. It's less than that.
No.
So when you start to do it on a galactic, cosmic, whatever, we are very related to so many, some of us have like a connection to a star being, like, oh, wow, there, you have some kind of chances are highly likely that you know each other incredibly well.
Right.
Even if you don't have that connections, everybody kind of knows each other on some level. We're so connected to each other in so many ways, even if you want to go through like genetics, like the material, genetically how we're created, you'll find that a lot of us are very, like, maybe 2 or 3 steps separate, and we're connected, right? I want to discuss this, but I'm still having some mixed feelings about it, and I don't want really that to be brought in. I'm trying to keep that out of it.
Right.
So I just wanted, like, for information purposes, to see, kind of, because not all of these children are like coming here.
No.
The genetics of even some of us in these bodies are being utilized in these programs, but not all of those children are going to arrive on this planet.
No. So let me add this. I just heard planting seeds. That's what they're doing with the children. They're planting seeds, but they also are talking about how it depends on where they're going. In other words, where they're located. So there was some, they're trying to give me an idea of, like, well, you can imagine atmospheres are different on different planets and different galaxies and all of that. So they're taking, it's almost like they have specialties within specialties, if that makes sense. And to your point about some of us are involved genetically. So, the whole stories about people being abducted and then the ovary, taking eggs and all of that, that's actually real. And what I'm getting is many of those people have signed up previously to continue to help produce they're talking about the next generation. Does that resonate with you?
It does resonate in the sense that I know that that's occurring now. I do believe that the ones that you have truly consented to, and that you are participating in on a higher level, there's no real abduction, so to speak, going on. I think that we go so smoothly in and out with everything that we've prepared for this incarnation that there isn't really an abduction that is necessary for that to be a participant in these, right? So I would say yes, many of us are and did agree to.
So they just said the word nefarious. So some, okay. This is where this goes back to what I said. There are different groups creating, and they did say earlier, race to the top. So it's kind of like, and they're showing like Anunnaki. They were given this as an example, not saying it's an Anunnaki. Different groups, Pleiades. They're all doing their own creations because we're all creators ultimately, right? I mean, we all come from the same source, creating their own version. But what I'm getting is these abductions are not necessarily the approved ones, and they are actually trying to get the. Okay, then they just said race to the top again. Like they're taking, they weren't supposed to have access to those individuals or to that, but they're using it to, oh, they just said hybridize their own version.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, well, here we are.
That's exactly what happened to me. That's why I was saying, I don't know if I want to go into necessarily what I've learned, but that is exactly what I'm talking about there. And many of them don't understand what they have or what they're doing. And a lot of them don't understand the idea of oneness or unity, and what they do to one is not mutually exclusive to what is happening to all of the other so-called programs. So when you're a unified, you're a source energy, the purest source energy, or the blueprint, or you're part of that particular energetic, and it's in your genetics. When your genetics are used, it doesn't just affect the program they're being used in. It's like when we talked about CERN and having a particle and a collider and a thing, and they're doing this like thinking it's all isolated in a bubble. It's not. No. When they collide, it affects all of creation.
Yes.
Same thing. Genetics in a high original version source creator being utilizing genetics in with their program affects all the other programs that are using that particular same genetics. It's not in one. That is like the whole point of people coming to the realization that we are unified. We are one.
Right.
We are not separate from each other.
Right.
So even these competitions, like the racing and stuff like that, that's even a lower consciousness concept, even with these higher consciousness so-called beings doing these things, right?
Yeah.
So that was what I'm talking about. Now I know that there is that's kind of the struggle that I've had, because as you know, my experience here has been a lot of hijacking. There's been a lot of attempts to hijack my human. Okay. And you know this, for purposes, I believe, to be genetics. Okay.
Yeah, totally.
So for this reason, now the different, whatever participation, or whoever's actually gotten a hold of anything to do anything, they're all affecting each other. They may not even realize it. Right.
No, I think that's very true. Yes. That's
and
what I'm getting.
They're all affecting me. Right.
Yeah, I just heard the words a disconnect between who's doing what.
And this is the thing, they are a lot of these groups believe that, oh, I'm going to snatch this and no one's going to find out about it, or oh, I'm going to do it and nobody will notice if I take this little thing here. And what they don't realize, I feel all of them, I'm connected to all of them, and they are all connected to each other. Right?
So yeah, right. So okay, I have the question in my mind. So what is the ultimate purpose of this? What's the ultimate goal? I'm also getting okay, hold on, because I'm getting so when we talk about Earth, since that's where we are right now, we talk about Earth and the hybridization that's occurring. Are we, okay, so this is a question. Are various groups, we've already talked, there are different groups doing different creations for different planets and galaxies. Are there different groups creating the hybridization for the human form, and that's showing up here in what we ultimately see as humans? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay, so I guess we could kind of move into that. I don't know. I mean, that's interesting, because to me, then we would see a variety of differences coming up here in the future.
Yes, but I think, if we think, when I look at this whole situation, and I, just kind of knowing what I know, my personal experience with it, I think what the big picture like lesson is for all of these groups, no matter what level they're at, to at some point as a individually and collectively come to the understanding that they're all one.
Yep.
So it's not even just the human trying to figure this out. It's the entire cosmos.
It is
Having this experience of coming to the realization in some way, form, or fashion that we're all connected to each other. Yep. We're all one. We're all from the same source.
And I got something on that. Okay, what they're showing me as you're talking, they're showing like a council, like they know that others exist, okay? But there's this council of conversation that they have of, okay, we need to cross-check what's everybody doing. And they're talking about, and they said this earlier, they said respect for the life force, and they're talking about there are rules. There are creation rules, in other words. And so they meet at some galactic council level. I'm getting this representation from every group. Not everybody has the same idea, but it's to keep everyone in check with respect to using the life force to create. And keeping it in check. Exactly. Okay, they just said the word rogue to me. There's some group. Is that accurate? Yes. Yeah. There's a group going there. That is. Okay, I'm just going to clear this up. They're saying it's not the Anunnaki. So a lot of people think that, right? That I am not getting that. They keep talking rogue group. Are you getting anything on like, whew.
All right, let me clarify this. The rogue group was hiding behind the energy of the Anunnaki, so they would look like the ones doing it. That's what I believe is happening.
Ooh, I just heard they were shapeshifters. Does that make sense?
And the Anunnaki and a couple other groups are being blamed for it. But in fact, and I don't know if they're all aware of this or not, but I am now. In fact, most of
they just said they are now.
You are now, yeah. Most of the groups that are rogue are hiding behind the energy of that group. So they're trying to cause the disruption, enough chaos in getting that group in trouble and all of the stuff that they know that group will go through in order to correct the infidelity or the integrity of their name. They know that they can throw that out there and keep them all busy doing that. But in fact, it's not even that group doing it.
No, and you know what
it will look like a rogue faction of a group. Well, indeed, it's not even that group at all. It's hiding behind that.
Yes, and you know what I'm getting? You know how we know some of the main groups like reptilians, Pleiadians, Anunnaki? They said, oh, this is not, they're not known. That, I mean, like as a common group that we would point to.
That's why they can hide so easily, because most people don't even know they exist. They do everything so-called undercover. Yeah.
Oh, yes, that's what I was getting. I got a different word, but I don't know what it was, but yes, absolutely. I just heard in the dark of the night, which means undercover also. Oh, in the dark of the night. Oh, in the dark of the night. I wonder if that's tied to those who come at night and have had the abduction experience. Do you know what I'm saying? Or the knowing they had some kind of surgical procedure. You know what I mean?
Well, primarily this happens when in your sleep state. Have you noticed? So
that's why they said the dark of the night. Okay.
Yeah. So when we are separated in a way from, it's something about a vulnerability there. That's why, I was talking about this the other day with you a little bit about going to sleep in the right vibration and having all of your stuff aligned. Because there's some level of vulnerability in astral or in sleep state that causes this little breach, and they're doing it in a way where they're not easily detected, even though we've worked on some things to make sure that happens based on some of the stuff that has happened to me, where my team was saying you were there 1 second, then you were gone. And I'm like, well, let's dig into that and find out how it happened so we can figure it out so it can't happen anymore. Right. So we've actually worked together with me and to find out what happened, and then to create and develop something to allow them to be able to see me at all times, no matter what. So now they use that. right? But this is not, it's not just happening to me, but
Right.
so anyway, yes, there is a group that works this way,
Yes.
and they are masters at blaming it on somebody else, getting somebody else to take the blame and keeping everybody busy with that while they just continue doing what they're doing. Right.
Yeah, and so a couple things they're showing me, or they said, first of all, as you're talking about nighttime and all that, they said the body's more vulnerable at night. You made some reference to the astral, which makes sense, right?
Mhm.
They also keep showing me the visual of, the cattle mutilations and all of that. That's in alignment with the same idea of showing up, and I keep going back to ovaries and taking the genetics to, back with them, our DNA back with them. I'm getting I'm getting a similar group involvement. Does that resonate with you at all?
It's the energy of some of the groups it's just completely so low vibe, so low consciousness. It's like you don't want them to have anything, because they have no respect. I'm not even sure why they're bothering to create it all, frankly. It's almost like this. Yes, it's, here we're doing it to animals, and I'm talking about how horrifying it is. So, they kind of look at us like, how can you do that to animals? Same thing. Like some groups, they feel like they're so superior. They look at us like animals, not understanding the life force that we hold. They're starting to understand it. That's why they're trying to take stuff from us, but they still treat us like that, less
Right.
than, well, they can just take what they want, right?
Right.
So, but yet it's very wanted too, right? They want the genetics. So,
Yeah.
So yes, there are high ones, there's light ones, the
Oh
ones
yeah,
that
I'm
we are
seeing this all over. There's like
in.
different pods of groups of people doing the
Yeah.
same thing, but they're
Mhm.
in different, but I'm getting a very intellectual, very high vibration sense of creation from, they're showing me Pleiadians, Anunnaki, the ones we kind of know. And
Mhm.
okay. Yeah. So if we get back to the whole hybrid children idea, they just said populating all corners of not only the Earth, but the galactic star system.
Yes.
This is kind of how it all starts. And
It's something like,
we're just a different version. They're just a different version. Okay. This has been happening for eons. All right.
Mhm.
This has been happening since the inception of humankind. Where we're at right now is it's not just a 2.0 model. We're talking a 10.0 or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like that's why the children, they look so different now. It's a crystallized state. It's a more crystalline body. It's like you don't have to come in and grow it basically, and ascend into it. Does that make sense?
yes. Mhm.
And so they're coming in more that way. And that's why this is so different from the past,
Mhm.
because it was more of what they're saying. Now they're giving me Darwin. Okay. Not that Darwin had it totally right at all, but they're giving me the idea of what we consider evolution. It used to be more of humankind was evolving in a way, not the way we thought through, just that growth, but through the star beings shifting and changing it. But it was a more evolved, like we know, process. Whereas now all of a sudden it's like this, oh, they just said on steroids with the new. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, and I think there's so much to this. There's a lot of complexity, and even not knowing everything, my emotional body, just being in different environments, and my eyes not necessarily picking up everything or not having a full explanation of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Just my body in some of these my emotional body, I will have the emotion of the environment. Okay. So I've been like kind of move as we've been looking at all of these things, as I became aware of them. I'll ask my team, let's go see what's going on. Explain to me and like show me what I can see and what I can't see. Tell me what I can't see. So my emotional body, just being in the environment, gives me this feeling of it's beautiful or it's horrifying or this is wrong or this is right, kind of feeling like out of an integrity standpoint. they are like I can feel immediately in the environment that I'm in that they are diminishing something.
Yeah.
They're diminishing the divine, they're diminishing the spark, they're diminishing our potential. It's not an expansion that anybody is going to benefit anyone, that serves anyone. Or I can go into one and think, I can feel a different feeling, like there is joy, there's happiness, I can feel the difference in different environments.
Mm-hmm.
So I can kind of tell just by my emotional body that some are what I would consider an integrity and some are not.
Right.
Okay. So that's why I was like, I want just on this level, now I'd like to understand it a little bit more, even though I felt into them. So, but there's a lot of them, but I do feel like there's so much of it that needs to be elevated.
Oh yeah.
To a point of better understanding that all beings are one.
Because you know what I'm getting to, aligning to that or adding to that? I'm getting this is interesting. I'm getting there are some beings that, I'm not giving many names, but there are some beings that are highly technologically advanced, but
Yes.
they're not advanced in the sense of the consciousness part of that.
That's right.
So there's super high advancement in technology. You know where some of that's coming from? That's actually, okay, I'm just going here. I don't know how this is, but that's how we are starting. There must be some infiltration from that. The lack of the consciousness, but the understanding of the high technology and that you can create anything you want. That's part and parcel of what we're seeing a little bit in robotics if it goes the wrong way. In other words, they're giving an indication there. And then they're talking about the highly conscious beings understanding the life force and also having the high technology. That's a whole different ballgame. But when you've got the ones, well, oh God, just like they said, as above, so below. It's the same thing. We see this in humankind.
Yes,
See
right.
us, we understand, those of us who are awakening, going through this process, we understand that light side, whereas the more unconscious working in, maybe to use robots in a way that would not be using the life force properly, because it is kind of a life force.
Totally
And,
is.
yeah, that's as above, so below. Oh, wow, they're really talking about that. The unconsciousness of some of the high technology. It's very, and you know what I'm getting? Oh God, they just brought, I don't know where we're going here, but they just brought the Orion War back in, or Orion Wars back in. And it's connected to those days.
Can we maybe I would like to get a better understanding of what was the primary catalyst to the war. You may know this, I don't know. What was the primary catalyst, the underlying issue of the Orion Wars?
Okay, so one of the big things that I brought through in the past had to do with, okay, they just said it again, mineral rights. It was a mining kind of, okay, they just brought the movie Dune to me. Have you seen the movie Dune?
Yeah.
Okay, so they just showed that, brought that again. They just said, oh, I have so many chills. They said mineral rights, plundering. Okay, that's low consciousness. Okay.
Yes.
It's all about power control and what we take from others, because we don't have the respect of, we don't understand. They don't understand or see the value in the life force of whoever they're plundering. The Orion Wars, I'm very much getting, had a lot to do with that. And then it just got, and then there was servitude, there was slavery, there was, and then remember how they've said it never ended. I mean, the only reason it ended
it's not been resolved.
No, because everybody basically got tired, resources ran out, and it kind of just became it never ended. So guess what?
It devoured itself, I think, is what happened, and it was never resolved.
No, and that's why we're here. That's part of the reason why we're all back, is we were all involved, or most all of us involved in some form. So we have now come here to do a variety of things, one of which is close that out, because it changed. Okay, they just said that it changed the course of like everything essentially, but it was a plundering of resources is very much what I'm getting. And they just said the word mining, and
Yeah.
enslavement. And it was all for it's, it's just all for the riches, basically. Again, and in many ways, it was very egoic. I mean, in that sense, right? The ego, but that's a human thing. But we don't know. Do other beings have that version of an ego? Yeah. I mean, in some ways.
They have a format of an ego, I believe. Yes. I think, we'll tend to believe that that's all human. It's not. There's definitely ego going on in other planes. Or what, they might call it something different, but it's the same thing.
Right. Right.
But it's curious to me because obviously we're looking at, how, of course, that's wrong. They don't like what you said is exactly what I was thinking. There is no value for something that maybe they've never experienced.
Exactly.
So I'm wondering if they'd never felt like a real, like being a sentient with like the divine spark and heart-centered, and how beautiful that feels.
Exactly.
To realize like, oh, that beats the high-tech stuff all day long. Maybe right. Because they've never felt it, so they have no respect for it. They can't value it because they don't know. Right?
I just heard no frame of reference.
Yeah. So, and they might even see some of the behavior coming from more of a heart-centered as being weak, where indeed, this is a thing I was talking to you about. I had on that time from I told them, you don't understand how hard it is to be full-blown heart-centered, emotion sensual. Mm-hmm. You don't know how hard, actually brave you have to be this way. Right. Until you're in a body like this, then you start to understand, oh my God, they're not weak at all.
No,
this is different, and it's not, it's different from what I have to do, but it's not weaker by any stretch, right? Mm-hmm. So it's an observational. They can look and see something and determine it to be weak, but they've never actually been there and felt it, realized, oh my God, courage right there, right? Yeah. So I think that might be, but I'm trying to figure out, there had to be an original separation of these, like, we're going to do a full, like, mind or no emotional. How did these section out in the beginning is what I'm, even up at a higher level, how did they start breaking out?
Yeah. Let me see if I can get anything here. Okay. So they always start with a few words, as you know. I just heard the words went awry. So let's see what else we can get here. Went awry. So what they're showing me is a visualization of, oh my God, Jennifer, they're showing me, this goes back to what we call the Big Bang. Okay, we're just going to call, that's as humans understand it, the beginning of creation. So we can argue about that all day long. But the point is they're showing the Big Bang, and okay, they're giving a metaphor. Oh my God. As though, like, when you do fireworks on the 4th of July, okay, most of them go off and work beautifully, but they're showing so they're showing a big firework that you might light, but has like 7 little pieces of the firework that will go boom, 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 and all create one thing. They give the craziest metaphors. And they're showing all of them going up and looking beautiful, except one that goes boom. So there's giving, how that happens. Like you, all of a sudden, you've got the firework, it looks beautiful. And all of a sudden half of it went, or part of it went back. It's like, what happened? Yeah. And so what they're showing is, and this is all new information for me. So they're showing the Big Bang, and what they're showing is, they just said, oh God, they're so funny. They're trying to make us laugh, but they said the spark that got away. Okay. So they're showing this, and all of a sudden one goes off into, I just heard, okay, again, they're funny, Never Neverland. And they're showing off into the darkness, aloneness. They're showing aloneness. They're showing on their own, whereas the rest went to this trajectory. It has something to do with quantum mechanics. Okay. I have no idea if there's some kind of thing that happens, like, somebody that knows all this will probably be able to explain it, but they're showing me, it has to do with when energy, there's a force that comes out. Okay, I'm going to just keep going with this force that comes out. It all gets blasted out this way. The one part they're showing that goes this way, but they're showing this has to do with quantum mechanics, quantum quantum theory and what that creates. It creates its own, I have chills. Oh, they know I'm getting there because I'm not quite getting it. Somebody who's not even sciencey trying to explain this, right? What I'm seeing. It creates its own like timeline. It creates its own creation. It creates its, somebody's going to listen to this and have some understanding of quantum mechanics and physics and what I'm talking about here. Do you know anything?
It's just reminding me of the story of Sophia going off on her own and crashing into something else and creating this whole side thing.
The side thing. It's a side thing because it wasn't the trajectory. Yes, that's exactly it. But it has we can they always tell me this, you can understand everything that we've been talking about by understanding quantum physics. And so somebody's going to know what this is. It creates.
I wonder. It's like a. I mean, I feel like
time and has to do with time and space too, but it has to do with like time and space. And I don't know if I can explain it any further because they're showing me visuals, but I can't put it into words because I don't have a frame of reference.
I feel like I'm wondering if, I feel like in that situation, I don't know why, I feel like there was probably some like little somebody, there's some energy in that little blast that made it go this way instead, right? Something, it probably, some little thing that trying to figure out, well, why did it go that way instead of straight like the rest,
I just heard glitch in the system. Okay, hold on. Why are they showing me the Wizard and the Wizard of Oz?
Because I know. All right, I know. I even know the parts that those two archetypes are playing within my own life. What you just said, the two that are playing the part of the two that were messing around.
Oh, showing this to me. They just keep this visual of the Big Bang, the beginning of creation, or however you want to explain it, happened. This whoosh, everybody's going this way, right? And then there's this, oh no, I'm going this way. They just said like the black sheep of the family. Okay. And that's not bad. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like the one who didn't fit in says, I'm going off and doing my own thing. And then I just heard created their own creation.
Yeah.
Does that resonate?
Yes, totally. Oh my goodness. Although the resonation for me would be that would not necessarily, kind of just what we were talking about earlier, wasn't necessarily it wasn't necessarily their intent to do that. It might have been interfering.
I don't know. All I know is it goes back to quantum. They're talking about they suggested the word propulsion. They're trying to explain this to me. They're showing me again how energy shows up, but they're trying to have something to do with propulsion. And it's all quantum. It's all energy. It's all about energy, how energy works, how energy creates.
Interesting. Holy moly.
Keep asking questions if you want. We'll see what we can get around that.
Well, I'm thinking now this is like the original.
Hold on. They're giving me another visual. Okay, so what they just showed, again, I don't know what frame of reference is. So there's all this energy that's going off from the Big Bang, how creation is started, and the one that goes off this way, then all of a sudden what I'm getting, they just said the words quantum entanglement as well. This is all over the place. So then they're showing this other one coming in and going around all the others eventually, like it goes off, creates on its own, and then it shows back up again. It's like it's in an orbit. Again, I'm probably not explaining this in a way that's going to make it understand, but they're showing it coming back into like an orbit around the others, that it's attracted back in. It's showing it being attracted back in.
That even sounds like Nibiru. Holy moly.
It's attracted back in, but it's different. It's totally different now. Now they're saying it's influencing the rest of this energy.
Yes.
Okay. And remember, all this is what we end up being created out of. But so my point is they're showing this then impacts the rest of this energy. it's like almost like a slingshot. It's
Yeah.
like gets propelled out and it slingshots back in because it's attracted by the rest of this energy, and oh God, it's pulled back in and then influences the rest of this energy.
Yes. Yes, that sounds so right. That's so correct. Holy moly.
I cannot wait. I hope we have a viewer who says, oh, I know what you're talking about. This is this in science, right?
It's
or
because it's
physics.
like kind of what I was saying earlier. Even if there's some level of consciousness being whatever who thinks, oh, I'm just going to take I'm going to take my toys and I'm going to go over here, right?
Right.
We're all one, right? We're all one. We're not separate like that. You can't go off and do your own and no one's going to notice.
Pulling back in.
Yes. So even with the kind of like the inertia pulling it back in, it may come back in like a wrecking ball, right?
An influencer, yeah, because they're talking about how it can't help but influence because it's still part of the one. So to your point,
it can't stay separate either. So it may not wanted to come back in. It might be being brought back in because that is how that works, right?
Exactly.
We're all one, so it's going to be pulled back in no matter what, but it might come back in like a wrecking ball, like I said.
Exactly. Exactly.
I think that's kind of what we're dealing. It's basically describes everything that I've been telling you my body feels like for 2 years, right?
Oh, that's so fascinating.
Yeah, that's interesting. Now, I think it will self-correct, but I'd love to see that correct itself in a cleaner way. But
okay, I just heard. So what that all was is that was energy. Energy then started to create,
yes.
creating beings, creating humans, we started to create and evolve. The energy evolved, right? And so what I'm saying is, it's not so much a self-correcting system, but they have to correct themselves, is what they're turning that backwards to say, having to correct themselves. In other words, coming into their own state of consciousness and awareness. It almost feels to me like we're the jewel because we're in human form and we're ascending with, as we've talked in the last video, with the body, that whole thing. That's unique to us. However, what I'm getting is evolving and coming into a higher state of consciousness is what all beings do. All right. Our specialty here on Earth is this human body we have and the soul in us that is working to ascend. But what I am very much getting is like consciousness growth, part of the journey with other beings and civilizations is there's a consciousness growth too. They have to come back into their own, or they have to grow too. Does that at all resonate?
Yes, I think it's like, the part like a prodigal son, for instance.
That's
okay.
It. Yeah.
And the fact that they're going to come back in, but they're going to come back in with experience, things that happen to them. Some of it might not be good either. Totally. Some of it might have been horrible experiences. Some of it might have been very traumatic. Some of it might have been disfiguring, right?
You know what they just said?
All kinds of things.
Well, and influencing their little brothers and sisters.
Oh, they're coming back in as a troublemaker? Oh, okay.
No, my point is using the prodigal son that you said can influence others, and they're saying, and they're being funny, but they're saying influencing little brothers. So you yes. see some of that sloughing off and then influence.
Yeah. And I think that I don't know, it's really interesting. Sometimes I wonder if there's so much contentious energy. I can almost feel the situation. Okay. So I'm trying to figure out if that necessarily came back, didn't want to come back in. Right. It still has not evolved to the point of understanding why it's back. You know what I'm saying? Why? Because they have not gotten to the point to realize we are one, we are unified, we cannot be separated. Separation is only an illusion. It's a misunderstanding that you're in. It is you created separation so you could have an experience, but it's not real, right? You're not really separate.
Okay.
So having a temper tantrum or whatever and going off, whether I don't know if that's exactly what happened, but you always are going to come back in, right?
Well, guess what? Yeah. And you know what they're showing me now? You're going to crack up. You know how they are with the superhero thing for me. They just showed me Thanos. Now, if anybody's watched the Marvel movies, all of those, I got to tell you, I watched them all. I loved them, but I have to watch them again to understand like the whole Thanos thing. But somebody out there who's watching us is going to be able to connect Thanos to what we just talked about. Because Thanos, remember, they were all after Thanos. He was like I think he was like the one-off, the wanted to, he's the one that like snapped his fingers and half of humankind disappeared. I'm just going to say Thanos, he's the bad guy, but I'm also getting not the bad guy, but I mean,
no, I just heard, no, he's misunderstood.
Yeah. So my point is the frame of reference for bringing Thanos in was what you just said with that part of that energy that went off and then came back, because Thanos showed back up. But so I can't give you any more on that, but
okay.
They keep showing Thanos, they show the jewels, they can just keep talking about how that's the story. I mean, there's so much in there that in those movies, and we know how that works, right?
Like, let's go back to the divine, right? Let's always, let's pull all of this stuff, information that we just received, and pull it back to our highest potential state of being. In the highest integrity and full creation and expansion, right?
Yes.
And let's pull it back into that understanding, because I get that we put ourselves in separation so we can have certain experiences, but somebody told me something the other day, even like I think Ra had said it, and it made me understand. It's like from being completely unified to being in separation, there's kind of a sweet spot in there.
Yep.
Where you can be in separation and have experiences and learn and expand and grow without falling so low that you fall into chaos.
So they just said it's when you're always tethered. It's like having a lifeline. Okay, like you're always connected. Does that make sense? And so you can jump. They're actually trying to give me a metaphor of that. They just gave it, the bungee cord jumping. So the bungee cord, you can fly, you can go wherever you want as long as you're attached, right? And you come back up. So exactly.
And I think it's like allowing yourself to, like the strength of the larger being, for instance, and how much separation you do. I think there is like a level of separation where you find this thing where you really feel like maybe there is massive growth potential. There's no diminishment. You're not harming yourself
you're always connected, right? Exactly.
But then I think you can separate out too much, and it becomes like there's too much going on, and it's chaotic, and you lose the consciousness level. So it's like this area where you try to find the sweet spot where you can still interplay with all of your being in separation and still be learning and growing, and not fall into this we're all going to want to kill each other down here, you know what I mean, down here. So I'm kind of seeing it like that in a lot of these stories and things that are playing out, and all of this stuff that's keeping us interested, and we're learning and growing, but we're not. I'm always thinking, how do we not fall to where we forget we're one? How do we not get so low that we forget we're one, right? At least on a level that is running through our body, like an innate level where we have that understanding that we are, because I believe that's where we start finding a lot of this really, really harsh, abusive, destructive, misunderstood. We have all these beings. We were just talking about this the other day. One of these huge, massive beings that was looked at as the darkest of the dark, and finding out what their origin story was completely changed, my opinion of what was going on there. I think that's one of those things where you drop to the point of you're self-destructive, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't know. I think it's like, how do we tie this back into it? We need to elevate this, right? Even some on a galactic level, some of these other groups and everything. I think the whole thing needs to take a big jump step.
Okay, so what they're trying to give me a sense of is the power of our ascension on Earth with humankind is influencing everyone else. I think we've talked about that before. It will affect others as well. It'll affect their consciousness, is what I'm getting. Oh, this is the connectedness to the one. Okay, so as we are this is fascinating. This is not just a human collective ascension. We are impacting others. They keep showing these like a network again, like okay, they're showing like a a master brain. And you know, synapses, when they show the brain and they've like characterized it as like synapses, and they're showing that like sending it out to the rest of the cosmos. It's like a massive brain is what they're showing me. But everything, the cosmos is like a massive brain. So that as we ascend and become, boy, we are really important to the, not just the human collective. That's why they keep talking about the earth. Everybody's watching this because it's affecting them too. It's taking them to a higher consciousness, the opportunity they keep saying for the higher consciousness. They can't help but be affected. So what they're showing me is they're showing this kind of, again, I go to movies where they like some magic spell gets like kind of cast on them as we go through ascension. Is like, ding, all of a sudden they're like more aware, more conscious, more like, it just kind of happens. Okay, there's the video for this week. Thank you so much for joining me. I so appreciate you. Don't forget my services, purplerainhealing.com. If you want to work with me on mentoring through your spiritual awakening journey, where I work one-on-one with you on a regular basis to help you forward in all the things that you're dealing with. And you can choose to have as few or as many sessions as you want. It's very flexible. I also offer individual sessions where you can work with me one-on-one, whether you're going through formally, spiritual awakening or not. It's channeled information to help you with your soul journey. We look at the umbrella journey. It's not just about getting pieces of information. This tells a story, past, present, future. Potentially we'll bring through past lives, as that's one of my specialties as I work more and more with people. We will talk about the overarching soul journey, how the human journey, the things we experience here, actually have a pairing with the spiritual journey, but yet a different understanding as to why these things are happening. So we really help you unravel why you've had experiences, relationships, and how you got to where you are today, and some of the things that may be coming your way in the future. So check out purplerainhealing.com for all of my services. I would love to work with you. Thank you so much for joining me in this video, and I will see you in the next one.